Welcome friends to another r/malicious compliance video. Our first story of the day is by Black Crows and Bad Pros. Truck driver wants to get rude. Fine, I gave him exactly what he wanted. So I, 20-year-old female, work as a clerk at a large trucking company. I've been there for 2 years now, but regardless, have an extremely hard time getting respect from majority of the people there. Because of 175 employees, only 14 are women, and I am by far the youngest by a handful of years. The environment is great when it's good, and terrible when it's not. As you can imagine, there's the usual daily dose of misogyny, sexual harassment light, and general ignorance that you would expect from a conservative blue-collar warehouse. But after 2 years, I've grown quite a thick skin and have little issue standing up to these grown-butt men when they get pushy or rough with me. So my job is really supposed to just be basic customer service and filing, but I had the opportunity to learn how to dispatch, the checking in of drivers and assignment of their next task, and I flourished. My daily tasks expanded quite a bit in dispatch duties, the most important of which for this story is equipment assignment. It's part of my daily task to assign what driver is in what semi-truck, tractor, for the day. They're all for the most part assigned to a specific one, but when you have vehicles that drive well over 500 miles a day, if not more, things happen. Breakdowns, accidents, the mechanics need to take them for service, you name it. So what ends up happening is, on average, I usually have about 15 to 20 drivers a day who need to be assigned to trucks. On top of that, to make it more complicated, the pandemic caused a boom in service, which is great, but also led to management hiring more drivers than we have equipment for. So this means many drivers have to share. The drivers who go out in the middle of the night and bring the trucks back give it up to the drivers who start in the morning to take it out during the day, constant rotation. It's my job to organize who has what. Here's where the issue started. We have a handful of drivers who hate sharing their trucks. Frankly, sharing trucks can be a pain as you can't control what time someone will be back. Sometimes the guys are messy, and in general, it's like forcing little kids to share toys. So one driver in particular I have a problem with, we will call Bob. Bob will constantly brag about having his own truck and how good of a driver he is because he doesn't have to share, often pulling the seniority card on newer drivers. Well, it was fine until the AC in his tractor broke. You see, in the state I'm in, working AC is not required for the tractor to be street legal, which sucks as we have days that can get up to 100 degrees. Well, as expected, as soon as Bob's truck stopped working, the shop told him it would be almost a month before they could fix it, as there were more important things to be settled. He immediately launched into an angry frenzy and went straight to management, demanding to be put into something newer and nicer. We got into verbal arguments over it, as he refused to take whatever I was giving him unless it was brand new, and he especially refused to take the truck with no AC. While I don't blame him for not wanting to drive a truck with no AC in the summer, the problem is with the way he went about it. Rude and talking to me like I was stupid. So I gave him exactly what he wanted. A brand new 2021 truck with less than 500 miles. Some of the ones we have are over 15 years old with over 1 million miles on them. Problem is, that truck is shared with a nighttime driver with twice his seniority and the habit of getting other drivers in trouble for leaving trucks messy. Bob is a slob. Not fueling up properly, not doing the paperwork correct, etc. So for as much as Bob was a pain in the butt, the driver he shared with was even more so an issue, especially considering that they did not get along. Within a week of sharing, Bob had been written up for being messy. Here's where it gets interesting. 3 weeks into the arrangement, Bob is miserable. He finds out that his old truck has been fixed, and immediately, without talking to me, goes over my head to management to demand to be reassigned to that truck, which is granted. I was irritated as, at this point, another driver had been in that truck and making do with the lack of AC, and once again, Bob was being spoiled. So I begged my supervisor to grant me the authority to keep Bob in the truck no matter what. I told Bob this and told him that if the AC went out again, he was stuck, so choose wisely. He made fun of me, said he didn't care, and that he wanted his old truck back. 3 days later, the AC goes out again just in time for a heat wave, the first one of our Florida summer. My only response to his complaints was it was going to be a hot summer, a response that was thankfully backed by management. If given the choice to share a truck with another person, knowing that you're going to have to be rather meticulous about how well you keep it and trying to be on time always because they'll be waiting on you, versus taking a truck that's all yours but you don't have any AC, which one would you personally want to choose? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by Aussie Jesus Duck God, Motor Inn Compliance. So I recently left a job at a motor inn. I'd been there for a month, just quit yesterday, cleaning hotel rooms while I study as something to bring in a little extra money. They just had 2 people leave at the same time, so I was able to get my wife a job there with me. And these people I worked for were incredibly two-faced and flip-flopped on what they said quite regularly. One moment, they'd compliment you and tell you you were doing a fantastic job at one area, such as making the beds. And then the next day, they'd say the beds weren't made properly when they already signed off on it and praised you for it. It was very frustrating, and I brought it up to them and told them to just be honest with me. Give it to me straight. If I'm lackluster in areas, let me know so I can improve. And the first 2 times I said this, they'd say, "Oh no, you're doing very well and we're lucky to have you and there's not much to really improve on." Only for the next day to be given a laundry list of things that I'm not doing and that aren't up to their standards. I asked them a second time to just tell me what I'm not doing right, only to be given the same runaround. Come the third time asking, they told me, "Look, if you're not happy with the way we do things, then you should think about looking for work elsewhere." So I sat there and thought about it. Then my wife came home the other day and told me that they've been speaking to her in a similar manner and told her that the work she was doing wasn't good enough and that they can't keep paying for someone who doesn't do their job properly and that she'll be let go if she doesn't pick up her game. One of the complaints was that she didn't clean her showers properly. My wife and I had worked the same day together beforehand, and as my wife was under the weather, as she usually is at this time of the month, I double-checked her rooms and helped her out when I finished my wing and made sure everything was up to scratch. Aside from a window being left open and a decorative pillow not being in the right space, everything was fine. So they've just been pulling stuff out of thin air. So I complied with their idea of looking for work elsewhere. And my wife took up more shifts at her other job, left them short 2 workers again. Now, for my own curiosity, I reached out to the 2 other that left just before we got there, and it turns out they're notorious for doing stuff like this, and they've gone through 8 other staff members since January this year. Sometimes, it helps to just ask a worker what the bosses are like before you start there. I was going along with this story, and I was like, okay, maybe they're just the kind of people that are really bad at being blunt or being blatantly honest. That's understandable. Until OP revealed that they're complaining about stuff that wasn't even something you could complain about. What kind of mind games are they trying to play? I don't know what they have to gain over trying to make people feel like they're doing a bad job. This next story is by Mauricio Lazo. Just hit my car and we're even, okay? This one's short and sweet. I went to the grocery store, and after buying all my stuff, I went to the parking lot. As I was getting close to my car, another one parked next to mine and opened the door wide open, hitting my car. "Hey, you just hit my car." The jerk just turned around and said, "Just hit my car and we're even, okay?" and walked away. Luckily, there was a security guard nearby, and I asked him if he witnessed what the guy said. The security guard just said, "Yep," and turned away. He knew what was coming. So I pretty much gathered all my strength and kicked his door so hard with the bottom of my foot and left a huge dent across all of his driver door. Just got into my car and left. I never had a citation, ticket, or got contacted due to that. Well, what happens between two consenting adults stays between two consenting adults. Just hit my car and we're even, okay? If you say so, jerk. And our final story of the day is by the analog koala, the day I was maliciously complied with. My first job out of engineering school, about 25 years ago, was to work as a controls engineer at an enormous commercial brewery. You've heard of what they brew there. My job was to upgrade the control systems for the various pieces of equipment we used in the brewing and packaging processes. This included selecting new components, designing the system, and programming the equipment to do its job properly. About 6 months or so into the job, I was assigned to update the controls on our water carbon filters. These were enormous units that were maybe 40 feet tall, and most of the controls were on the top of the units. I had spent over a month designing the new controls. Basically, a computer that put the filter in different modes depending on conditions, and then communicated data to our central servers. Since we were a unionized brewery, I was not allowed to operate a screwdriver, so I needed one of the mechanical techs to actually do the install. I had to be there because I had a test suite to make sure the new controller passed before I could switch the carbon filter over it. Downtime was a big no-no. I was behind schedule and under a lot of pressure to get this thing done. The tech assigned to me was really unresponsive and always had an excuse why he couldn't help me. I was young and stupid then. I'm old and stupid now. So I committed the cardinal sin of engineering. I went to the tech's supervisor to compel the guy to help me. So the next day, the guy calls me and says we can do it at 3 p.m. We had a shift change at 4 p.m., so I figured it was tight but doable, should only take 20 minutes. The filters were in the yard behind the brew house, and it was a cold day with a driving rain. I put on my raincoat, gathered my stuff, and met the guy at the filter right at 3 p.m. We climbed up the ladder and were on top of the filter. I was a bit sketched out by the climb on the wet ladder and was stressing from the height. So what I needed from this guy was to remove the housing that protected all the electronics, screw the new unit I put together into the equipment rack on top of the filter. All our control electronic units were standardized in 19-inch rack-mounted units, and replace the housing. So I pull out the unit, start preparing it for installation, and he goes to the rack and goes, "Darn, left the right screwdriver in my other bag. Sorry, dude." So down the ladder he goes as I shiver in the rain. My jacket left something to be desired. He gets back in about 10 minutes. It's 3:20 or so now. We're still doing fine. Should take 5 minutes to install, 15 minutes to test, and then he has to close the housing and we're done. The first thing he says is, I don't know, man. I think the unit's too deep for the chassis. I don't think we have room for the cord." I thought, this couldn't be true. I reused an enclosure from another project. I get down on the wet roof of the filter and see that the power cable was all twisted up in a weird way, but easy to fix. I realized at that point, the guy is messing with me, but I don't know what to do, so I play dumb. "Oh, the cord got kinked up. Try it now," I say bravely. After 10 minutes screwing with the cord, it's now 3:30. No worries, should go smoothly now, right? The guy starts putting in the unit at the speed of a glacier melting. Takes him 10 minutes to literally slide a unit into a rack, tighten 4 rack screws, and patch in maybe 10 cables to the existing system. It's 3:40 now. This is going to be tight. So I plug in my laptop and start putting the new system through its paces at full speed. I really need to get this done. It's going okay when the guy drops the bomb. "Listen, dude, I gotta go on break." That's when it hit me. I'm screwed. The guy smirks at me while I powerlessly watch him descend the ladder. I spend the next 5 minutes running tests, went a bit faster than I expected. System looks a-okay, but it's 3:45 now and the guy is nowhere to be seen. The cover is off the control system. The rain is beating down. I'm soaked. My laptop is soaked. My pride is soaked. What do? If I put the cover on, I know the guy's going to file a grievance, which we try to avoid. What I end up doing is to prop the cover back on the control system without securing it. It doesn't fit so well before you screw it in, so I end up taking my jacket off and covering it up to keep it dry. Guy doesn't come back. 4 p.m. rolls around. I'm soaked. I don't know what to do. I can't let him destroy the equipment, but I also can't do his job for him. I end up going back down the ladder, going to the storeroom, getting a screwdriver, and just reinstalling the cover myself. It's about 4:30 p.m. when I finally go home, soaked to the bone. Unfortunately, the story doesn't really have a satisfying ending. I considered going back to his supervisor, but the last thing you want as an engineer is for the techs to hate you. In the end, he never reported me for operating a screwdriver, and I didn't report him for abandoning a job. I imagine if I pushed it, he would have been written up with no real consequences, and then I would be persona non grata from then on with the represented staff. I considered this a life lesson and resolved to go back to school, which I did. I get the guys upset that you went to their supervisor to try and get things moving along, but I feel like this guy's a class A jerk for outright abandoning you like that. Like, yeah, go ahead and step down, let them get soaked, let them think about how miserable they are in that moment, but at least actually finish the job for them. I'm probably more of a contrarian than OP is. If I got treated like that because I contacted their supervisor, I wouldn't try formal action. I would probably contact their supervisor again in the future. See if this guy ends up inevitably slipping up big time, trying to pull some other stunt. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So if you have a favorite story of the day, let me know which story and why in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, and if you haven't, subscribe and turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. No matter what you do, whether it's just viewing the video, liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, I appreciate the heck out of it. Every little thing that you do helps the channel grow that much more, and I can't thank you enough for it. So, until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll be right here next time on the Storytime channel.